Hello everyone and welcome to the Kushmerek Connection. Filming today from the Workers Credit Union studios at FATV, and I think no stranger to many of our viewers, certainly no stranger to the city of Fitchburg, Chief of the Fitchburg Police Department, Chief Ernie Martineau.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite today.
Thanks so much for joining me on the show, and certainly no stranger to each other here. I think we've been working together.
It's been a while.
Yeah, absolutely, since your first day as chief, and honestly, I can't imagine anybody else in the role. And you are no stranger to the city, and no stranger to Elm Street,
No.
where you run the police department. But give us a little bit of background on where you come from and how you got to this point in your career.
Well, absolutely. You know, I'm truly a proud, lifelong member of the city of Fitchburg. The city has treated me well. You know, growing up on Elm Street, I lived my entire child years in the Elm Street, Mechanic Street area. You know, went to Crocker School, B.F. Brown, Fitchburg High School. It really shaped who I am. Those years really shaped who I am today as a person. You know, I came under the police department at 22 years old. You know, right out of college. It was my aspiration to come back to my city. I didn't want to go any further. You know, I had other opportunities, and you know, I chose to stay at home. And I really. Becoming a member of the Fitchburg Police Department was a dream from as far back to grade school and into junior high school. And you know, it's really served me well over the years, and now 34 years into it, the last 7 as the head of the department. You know, it's been an exciting ride, and I owe it all to the city of Fitchburg. You know, the lessons that we learned in our childhood, whether it was at Crocker School or B.F. Brown or Fitchburg High, those lessons really lasted a lifetime and have provided me with the opportunity to head this department for the last 7 years. 34
years, it's incredible, really.
I know. It seems like yesterday when you were council president.
That's right.
when I was appointed as chief, and you know, that was 7 years ago. Boy, it's just a lot has changed. A lot has happened in the last 7 years. A lot of positive things have changed.
Well, I know it was then Council President Hay, I think overseeing both the search committee and president of the council at the time. And you know, I look back and think that was one of the best decisions that we ever made as a city council, and that always sticks out as one of the votes I was truly proud to cast. And you know, in those 7 years as chief, I think we've seen a lot of things change both on the city side as well as within the police department, and really credit you for changing the culture of the Fitchburg Police Department, but also the culture of policing in the city of Fitchburg. Talk to us a little bit about what you've done and how you've taken that tact.
You know, it's always easy to give credit to the department head or whoever's in charge, but quite frankly, it comes down to the men and women that work for you.
That's right.
They're the ones that deserve the accolades. They're the ones that deserve all the praise and all the credit. As a chief, as a department head, you can only provide guidance in the direction you want to steer the ship. It's the folks that are actually doing this, you know, running the ship that make the difference, and they're the ones that deserve the accolades. And you know, so much has changed in the last decade in law enforcement. Nationally, locally, state, it's changed drastically. You know, and I'm proud of where the Fitchburg Police Department is currently and where we've come from. You know, in the last 10 years, we made a concerted effort to really strengthen the diversity of the Fitchburg Police Department. You know, I've seen highs and lows. When I came on the police department, I think our total numbers were around 62 sworn officers.
Sure.
I've seen it as high as 96 sworn officers. You know, and slowly, you know, we all lived through the 2007, 2008. You'll remember the council then. There was a lot of tough decisions to see how to make to get back into financial strength. You know, and now we're starting to see a resurgence of the police department coming back. You know, currently we're budgeted for 83 police officers, so we're making our headway back to where our personnel should be. But more importantly, we really made an effort through recruitment, reaching out to the universities, reaching out to Mount Wachusett, to make our department look like the community we serve. And it was a priority right from the very beginning, because I saw the value in having a department that looks like the community that you're serving. And we really expanded the look of the Fitchburg Police Department. I think there was a state poll done last year, and Fitchburg was ranked 5th most diverse agency in the Commonwealth.
That's incredible.
It really is. It's something to be proud of. And like I said, I can't take credit, all the credit for that. My captains and their recruitment efforts through Fitchburg State, through Monty Tech, through the Mount, we really tried to attract candidates that, really want to give back to the city, but that resemble the community that we're serving. And it's serving us well. It's serving us well in many different aspects.
Building trust in the community.
It really is.
Yeah.
It talks about police reform before police reform was a buzzword.
That's right.
You think about all the conversations that centered around police reform in the last 3 to 4 years because of incidents that happened 2,000 miles away from us. Well, guess what? We've been doing that way before 3 years ago.
Right.
We've taken those steps, and it's important that you have that type of diverse department, but more importantly, how you put it into play. I'm very proud of the community engagement unit that we've established at the police department, where we have dedicated police officers that their sole task is to engage in positive manner with the community, whether it's at one event or another, but just to create that positive impact and build those types of bridges.
Well, I think often when the police have to respond in the line of duty, it's often under the worst case scenarios for the members of the community. It's at a moment of panic or grief or emergency, right? And so I think it's amazing to see your officers, when it's not those moments, interacting with the community and building these, not only trust, but communication within the community and really building goodwill in the community. And I think that only deepens the bonds and the trust between community and police. And I think that's never been more important than it is now. And rarely have I seen the trust at a higher level than it is between the Fitchburg Police Department and the community in Fitchburg.
Yeah. I truly believe it's a key component in having a proactive police department in today's day and age.
Yeah.
It's a crucial part of being successful in the community, gathering that support and that type of trust. And when I took over the chief's position 7 years ago, I thought it was important that I extend myself as to many possibilities that I could find. I think currently I sit on 7 or 8 different boards throughout the city, that I'm proud members of. The 3 pyramids, I'm a proud member to be part of that board. The YMC board of directors, I'm able to get out there and actually listen and see what the needs are. But going back to talking about community engagement, I'd just like to touch base on something that we really expanded upon is our school resource officer program.
Yeah. How
important is a vibrant school resource officer program? There's been a lot of rhetoric about doing away with school resource officers, not having police officers actively involved in the schools. And I'm so glad that I have the relationship with Superintendent Jokeler and Superintendent Harity up at Monty Tech that I am able to provide. I have 4 active full-time school resource officers throughout the city. To me, there's no better way to build bridges and build trust when you can form a relationship with a 5th, 6th, 7th grader that could last a lifetime.
I think that's so important. And sitting on the Public Service Committee in the legislature, we talk about, it is so incredibly difficult these days to recruit men and women to the profession. And it's hitting almost every community. And I think never has that been more important that we have those positive interactions at those formative years. So as children are going through the school system, they're thinking about what they want to do when they grow up. And I think so important. We talk about that with educators and diversity in education, of the students sitting in the classroom seeing themselves as the teacher one day. I think the same is true in policing, of those children going through and seeing themselves, could I be a police officer one day?
Yep.
And seeing, not only officers that look like them, but officers who are interacting with them and approachable, and seeing themselves as, this is a great profession and this is something I could do one day. And that's just so critical.
And just to go back a little bit in history, one of the major influences that brought me into the policing profession was a relationship that I formed when I was in junior high school at P.F. Brown. In the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, we would have school dances, and it was typical in that day and time that police officers would work at the school dances.
Sure.
Well, there was a young police officer at the time, Peter Roddy. He was a patrol officer with the city of Fitchburg, and he worked every B.F. Brown dance. And I just saw how he interacted with the kids. He came to their aid, and I made a comment to Peter at the time that I said, I'm going to grow up and be just like you. And I didn't remember saying that until many years down the road when Peter Roddy went on to become Chief Roddy of the Leominster Police Department. And he brought that to my attention. He goes, you may not remember this conversation, but you told me you were going to be just like me. And it was the influence that he had on me when I was 12 and 13 years old that really thrusted me into the professional law enforcement. So my commitment to the schools and having that type of relationship with my officers into the schools is paramount. Recently, one of my SROs up at Longjoe Middle School was in the lunchroom last weekend, and a child came running over to the school resource officer with the universal sign that they were choking. And the officer knew exactly what was going on. The officer jumped into action right away, did the Heimlich maneuver that we're trained in, and dislodged what was in that child's
That's amazing.
There's just another example of right place, right time. And when crisis strikes, there's no one better than someone in law enforcement that takes action, because when crisis strikes, men and women in law enforcement are running towards the crisis to resolve the situation. So, it's just another fine example of the commitment and the relationship and the need to have trained police officers in our schools interacting with our student body.
Well said, Chief. And we have about 2 minutes left, but you and I have really worked and alongside in partnership with Senator Cronin around issues of homelessness and substance use and mental health. And can you give maybe a primer, and this will be a good segue for our next conversation when we have you back, to about some of the efforts you're making alongside the homelessness community and those struggling with substance use disorder.
Police department play a crucial role in helping those that need help the most, whether it's substance use disorder, homelessness issues. Policing has reinvented itself in the last decade, and police departments that want to be at the forefront have to reinvent who they are. I've used this term many times. We have to reimagine what policing looks like, and that's exactly what we're doing today, reimagining what we look like. Recently, we were awarded a $500,000 federal grant where we're bringing in full-time clinical support into the police department. That means I'm going to have a full-time master's level clinician embedded within my police department, responding with police officers in real time, dealing with issues, whether it's a substance use disorder or whether it's a homelessness issue or just a mental health issue. You need to reimagine who you are in policing, and that's exactly what the Fitchburg Police Department is constantly doing, reimagining who we are and making sure that we're providing the best services to the people of this city.
Chief, honestly, just tremendous work these past 7 years, and look forward to working with you each and every day. You're an amazing champion of the police department and policing throughout the Commonwealth, and just proud to call you a partner and thankful for everything you do for our city.
I as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief Martineau. Stay tuned. Coming up next, we have Nick Capasso from the Fitchburg Art Museum. We'll be right back.
Excellent opening move. We played this
opening lines for the Bishop and the Queen.
many times. 10-year-old Alice Lee. Let's see a photo of Alice Lee.
So she plays age 3.
Okay.
And we were thinking that mainly it's to make Luft, they call it.
Luft.
German for air.
At the age 8, he was also able to play blindfold, but most of his exhibitions were where he had sight of the board.
Right.
And he usually played between 15 and 20 players. Yes, I think taking with the Queen. How did Carissa respond to Bishop C4?
She plays knight f6, attacking the pawn, Jennifer's pawn.
And welcome back. Joining us now is the famed and esteemed Nick Capasso of the Fitchburg Art Museum. You've been leading the institution for some time now and doing some incredible work. Nick, tell us a little bit about how you came to Fitchburg and the Fitchburg Art Museum.
Oh, it's a long story. So, unlike Chief Martineau, I did not grow up here. I grew up in rural Maryland. And I have lived up and down the East Coast between Virginia and Massachusetts for my whole life, but I've been in Massachusetts since 1990.
Okay.
And actually, I was here before because I went to Clark University as an undergrad.
You're kidding. Small world.
I did my undergrad work in Worcester. But I came back to Massachusetts in 1990 to take a job at the DeCordova Sculpture Park and Museum in Lincoln, Massachusetts, where I worked on the curatorial staff there for 22 years.
Wow.
And the curatorial staff, what that means is the people who do the art stuff at the museum.
The art stuff, yeah.
And after having done that for a long time, I decided I was at the point in my career where I'd like to lead a museum and not just do the art stuff, but do all the stuff.
Sure.
And the opportunity arose in Fitchburg. And and what really interested me about this position was that the trustees of the Art Museum made it very clear that they wanted their museum to increasingly serve the community. And I thought, that's an interesting challenge.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I took the job. And I've been the director there since very late 2012, so a little over 9 years.
Coming up on a decade, and I think this episode has an Elm Street connection here today.
Yeah, that's right.
From one end to the other, and I think you're yet another anchor institution of that neighborhood, and I think you just said it so well of bridging the community to the art museum. And maybe it was a past philosophy of, the art museum caters to the intellectual elites of a community, and every community perhaps. And I think what you have done so well is make this an art museum, not just for, the educators or the intellectuals. You've made it an institution of and for the people and the residents in our community, most of all.
It's intended to be for everybody. Everyone is welcome. And one of the things our trustees realize, you call this one of the anchor institutions. They realize that the anchor institutions have to contribute to the revitalization of the city of Fitchburg.
That's right.
Because if the city doesn't thrive, our institutions are not going to thrive. Yeah. So we've been very busy over the past almost decade working in partnership with lots of different organizations to serve the people in the city.
Guys are really everywhere, and I think really what I've been most impressed by, and it was pretty early on into your tenure, you made Fitchburg Art Museum, I think it was the first in the nation to be a truly bilingual museum. Is that correct?
I don't know if we're the first in the nation.
Okay.
I do know that full bilingualism in museums is still pretty rare. But we did it because, again, I was given the charge to serve the community. We're going to serve everybody in the community. That's right. When over 35% of the people in this community speak Spanish at home, you have to address that.
That's right.
And you have to make those folks feel welcome in the museum, just like everybody else.
Well, and I think it's a wonderful affirmation. We often hear folks come in from out of town. Like, their first reaction is, how did Fitchburg get this? What a collection. And I think people are astounded of, you have a collection and you have a facility that you'd expect in a major city, and here we are, a small gateway community with just an outstanding collection, but an outstanding collection that also speaks to the depth, the cultural depth of our community, and really works to bridge, I think, some of that divide of what people might think of an art museum, and instead it embraces the community.
Well, Fitchburg has been very fortunate in that to have really two visionary leaders at the Art Museum over time. So Eleanor Norcross, who founded the Art Museum through her own philanthropy and with her own artwork in the early 20th century, as a way for her to give back to the community. That's what inspired her. She thought that her city needed an art museum.
That's right.
And then my predecessor, Peter Timms, he built the new wing in the museum, he built an endowment, he did all this work to give the city, as you said, the kind of art museum that might be unexpected in Fitchburg. And we're very proud of that now.
Well, I remember the first time I went to the Fitchburg Art Museum. It was when I was back at Fitchburg State, a young student. I had just met my now wife, Carissa, and it was one of our very first dates was going to the Art Museum. And I won't lie, I may have also been working on a project for Jane Fisk's art class.
Oh, you were given a class assignment at the museum.
I was, so I combined the date and the art and the class assignment. But honestly, it was I was just astounded by what I saw, and it was really inspiring. And I remember walking away with that feeling of why don't more people know about this? And now I'm so thrilled, that over the decade that you've been there, you have really brought the community in, and I think far fewer in our community are saying, wow, did you know that's there?
Yeah, I mean, the word has gotten out. We've been very fortunate to have excellent press. The local media has been extremely supportive, as has the Boston media. Yeah. And still, to this day, when first-time visitors come to the museum, the most frequent response we get from them on their way out the door was, I had no idea. I had no idea I was going to find this here.
What a compliment.
Yeah, it's a great compliment.
So above and beyond the collection, I think you've done a wonderful job of also being present in the community and addressing community needs. I think to Fitchburg Families First, tell us a little bit about that program and how you've taken such a leadership role at the Art Museum with this.
Well, Fitchburg Families First came about during the worst of the pandemic. The museum had to close twice. Yeah. Once when the governor told us to, and then later on when the virus numbers in Fitchburg got so scary, it just wasn't wise to have a public accommodation open for several months.
Sure.
In the last winter. So instead of directing our energies towards the things that museums normally do, like exhibitions and public programs, we decided that we would work in collaboration with different organizations in the city, primarily the public schools, to create a pandemic food relief program for kids and their families in the public schools. So we created Fitchburg Families First. That program ran on Saturday mornings now for 2 winters, where people could either drive up or walk up to the museum and receive assistance of various kinds. Bags of food, toys at the holidays for the kids, winter clothing, books, school supplies, art supplies, gift cards for restaurants, gift cards for supermarkets. And it was just a way, and of course this was not going to solve the food security issue in Fitchburg, but it was a way for the museum to stretch beyond our regular mission and help out the folks in the community, in our neighborhood and in the community in large that we care about and who care about us, and just a way to actively participate.
It's been amazing to see this initiative driven by the Art Museum.
And I want to thank you for coming and helping to volunteer with that.
Oh, I love doing it, and honestly, when you see an organization step up like this, that's the first thing we want to do is make sure you have the volunteers and the resources you need, and making sure that. I think what you've really helped champion is this, and I hear Mark Doan at New View Community say it often as well, and you talk about that F in the Fitchburg Art Museum is the same F that's in the city of Fitchburg and Fitchburg State University.
That's right.
And the shared mission and collective vision of who we are and how we together will overcome the adversity and challenges of our region.
I have learned since coming to Fitchburg that it's all about the partnerships and the collaborations. There just aren't enough resources here for anybody to go it alone and succeed.
That's right.
And I think the real key over the last decade is now everybody realizes that. Everybody's willing to work together. And everybody's working to drive the bus or row the boat in the same direction. And that's why we're getting things done.
Well said. Well said. And now I'm excited. Let's dive in a little bit. We're now in the spring months, and we'll have Art in Bloom coming up soon, and I'm sure a host of other programming and exhibitions coming up throughout the year. And tell us a little bit about what's going to be going on at the Art Museum, not only this spring but throughout the rest of the year.
Art in Bloom is something that happens at the museum every spring. Last weekend in April this year. And the basic idea is we partner with the Laurelwood Garden Club, another Fitchburg institution,
right.
and we invite their members and other people in the community to create floral interpretations of artworks that are actually hanging in our galleries. And they're installed in the galleries next to the artworks. It's open to the public for 4 days. And it's beautiful.
It's amazing.
And it's a great celebration of community and the beauty of nature and the beauty of art.
It's one of my favorites every year, and Carissa and I always look forward to going. So we have 2 minutes left, and
okay.
and I'd love to just hear maybe are there any other specific programs either on the educational side or on the exhibition side that folks should be looking forward to?
2 minutes, huh?
Yeah.
Very quickly, we are very proud that this past fall we opened our first arts-based neighborhood after-school program.
Wonderful. At
the museum in collaboration with the Fitchburg Public Schools. So that's been up and running. We've also, you mentioned Mark Doan, we've been working for 8 years now with New View Communities to transform the former B.F. Brown Middle School and 2 other old municipal buildings into the Fitchburg Arts Community, a campus of 68 units of affordable live-work space for artists. And we are this close to getting that done.
It will happen,
and
I am excited. I've been excited to see the work that you've put into it, and I'll be even more excited when we get to break ground in that space.
I will see you at the ribbon cutting.
I look forward to it. Well, Nick, thank you so much for all of your efforts, and I just want to end with a quick acknowledgement. Right now as we speak, or at the time of this filming, we're about 3 weeks into a conflict in Ukraine, the invasion of Ukraine, and just want to send our thoughts and our prayers and well wishes to the internally and externally displaced refugees all across Eastern Europe. And to those who have lost, the thousands who have lost their lives in this conflict. And so we certainly want to express our grief over their tragedy and the hope for a quick resolution and end to this trauma that's affecting so many across Eastern Europe. With that, Nick, I want to thank you once again. I want to thank FATV for the incredible work, for letting us use this the wonderful Workers Credit Union studio. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.